Henry is doing what I consider the most important work at another summit, which is supporting our outdoor leaders and ensuring that what we offer to our participants is world-class experiences. We don't charge for it. We will offer outings this year that people would pay $250, $500, $1,000 or more to participate in. But we're doing it at no cost, and we're doing it to help our participant discover a healthy civilian lifestyle that they may not currently have. And we know that it works, and we can see the changes in them as it happens. And we know that people have found something that they can rely on by becoming part of our organization. And although we're small and we don't have a big impact because we just operate right here in the lower Hudson Valley, we don't have a big impact. We're not going to become national. There are so many veterans and first responders within 50 miles of our headquarters in Beacon, New York. We never have to leave this area. What we have to do is capture what's working for us and share it as wide and far as possible.
The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
All right, welcome. We're back. I'm back. This has been a week. I haven't done this in a little over 2 weeks. It's pretty weird. Feels weird. So welcome to episode 109 of Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast. Tonight I have program director Aaron Leonard and Deputy Program Director Henri de la Vega from another summit. They're going to join me tonight, talk about their program that is all over the Northeast, and give you some insight on how they help out first responders and veterans. It's very awesome stuff. Henry's been on the show before, twice, and Aaron, this is his first time. So this is going to be a good chat. Great chat. Can't wait to chat about a bunch of stuff. So, guys, Devil's Path was voted number 10 of the most dangerous hikes in America. Did you hear about that?
No, I haven't.
I did not.
This was it's I mean, it was from a weird little like online website called AZ Animals. I don't know why. But they were talking about the top 10 hikes and most dangerous hikes. Some of them I don't agree with because I don't think Angel's Landing is that dangerous. It's just only dangerous if you're stupid. But
yeah, dangerous in certain conditions. Like
correct.
Tourist season.
Correct.
Or for the Devil's Path, maybe it's probably pretty dangerous in the winter if you don't know what you're doing.
Correct. And that was number one. Angel's Path or Angel's Landing was number one. I don't understand why that. Apparently these people don't go to most places that are not popular. Number 5 was a place that I've been to before called the Buckskin Gulch. I really don't know why that's dangerous. It's completely flat. And it's weaving in and out of an amazing just gulch that goes on for a gully that goes on for 42 miles. Maybe it's just because you might get a little bit too far in and then you have to get out by dark. But, a bunch of different places like Camp Muir. I mean, I understand that it's both. You've probably been there, Henry. Camp Muir, maybe? Is that on the PCT?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, do you agree with that one?
Nah, probably not.
so this person doesn't know
maybe in the wrong conditions.
Yeah. There's number 8 is the Kailua Trail, which is over in Hawaii. I agree with that because it's actually absolutely dangerous as heck because people don't realize that 11 miles plus you're walking on loose dirt that's on the side of a huge mountain. So, but number 10, Devil's Path. So, was looking at that, and the funny thing is am I looking at now? I don't know if they got the right photo. This photo doesn't look like it's on the Devil's Path, actually. Oh, wait, it is. But they said when it comes to naming the most dangerous hikes in the U.S., Devil's Path has an app that gets it. There's no shortage of rescues because of vertical climbs. There's been more rescues on Burroughs Range. And they say it's underrated, no shortage of hikers, elevation change over 8,000 feet. It's actually over 9,000. And yeah, and it's just, I find it very odd that they would put some of those trails before that. I mean, have you both been on Devil's Path, like at least some parts of it?
Oh yeah, I've done the whole thing.
I think it's more like a Dr. Seuss trail.
Because it's up and down and up and down. Is that?
Yeah, it's out of control.
I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I gotta agree with that. It can be like you said in the conditions, it can be dangerous, slippery, stuff like that. But you can fly on it if not.
I've got to say, I'm surprised that the Presidential Traverse is placed below the Devil's Path. With Mount Washington on there, you'd think that they probably get a lot more rescues.
They get like 2,000% more rescues on that. Yeah, or Presidential Traverse is number 13. And the funny thing is, not even I don't even see. Yeah, no Pemi Loop. I would have put the Pemi Loop on there before the Presidential Traverse.
Hmm.
Because I mean the exposure on the presidentials is pretty rad, but the Pemi Loop has just so many ups and downs and just craziness. And you know I couldn't believe that part of it, most of it, actually all of it was never marked, right? Unless we got down on the I don't understand why they can't mark that.
The Appalachian Trail section was marked all right, but definitely not as clear as a lot of the places we have around here in New York.
Dash, have you ever been on the Pemi Loop when it's raining?
Unfortunately, I have. But you know what? I had a great organization that helped me out through that. And another summit, man, I cannot say more to have more better companions on that than you guys. Henri was on there and Mark was on there. Mark, I apologize. I know he doesn't listen to this, but I apologize for I don't know how to say it, my assholeness, I guess. Every time he looked at me and took a picture, he was just like, I was just like looking at him like, don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, definitely like in that, to be honest, I found the Devil's Path to be a little bit more difficult than the Pemi Loop because I feel like the Pemi Loop had grippy rocks to go up at least. They had some like limestone rocks that you could get some grip, whereas the Devil's Path just has those slippery, flat shale rocks that you can slip on easily. So I found the Pemi Loop to be actually very nice, but horrible.
You were lucky to go with Mark. I have a great story of how we started doing this work together. I don't know if you have time on this podcast, but
you have all the time on this podcast is the time you want to spend here. When you get started getting, you can tell whatever you want. Trust me, people love hearing it. But I don't know. That was a really crazy number 10. Yeah, I know it's voted all the time in top 20 at least in the most dangerous hikes, and see it number 10, that's pretty cool. Get some exposure, get some people in the Catskills, get some people in the mountains, make them appreciate it. So we're talking of New Hampshire and Pemi Loop and stuff like that. Unfortunately, back 5 days ago on the weekend, or wait, was it the weekend? No, it was Thursday. There was a rescue on Mount Guyot in New Hampshire, and unfortunately, it wasn't a rescue; it was a recovery. Sorry, it was a recovery on Mount Guyot, and it's been a big talk because unfortunately, the guy went out to do the whole Pemi Loop, and if you don't know the Pemi Loop, it's massive 33-mile hike with amazing amount of 9,000 feet of gain, 9,000 feet of gain. You go over 7-8 peaks. And to do that in the summer is crazy, but to do that in the winter is absolutely even crazier. And the conditions were just out of control. And it's really unfortunate that he didn't make it. But there's a lot of questions. Of course, was he prepared? Why there's two other guys with him? Why didn't he turn around with those two other guys? Just a lot of different things, and it gets your mind circling. Especially, Henri, you're from Search and Rescue. Aaron, you're a deputy, the program director of this organization. You got to wonder what was going through their head. Summit fever, stuff like that. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? It's very tragic.
Well, oddly enough, Mark Rollin was on that rescue.
He's a beast. Perfect man for it.
I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. I don't know, only know what I've read. There's a couple of things there. One is that is a dangerous trail to begin with, and it's definitely not one you should consider doing on your own solo. The weather compounded the entire event, and I can't imagine a person who, I don't want to try to guess what was going through the gentleman's mind, but that just has to be a horrible situation to be in, and then to try to get a rescue going and talk to the rescuers, and then the rescuers not able to get there. It's just like a cascade of errors and failures and unmovable barriers that constrain the rescuers' movements, and resulted in the gentleman passing. So it would have been, from our perspective, Henry and I are both volunteer firefighters, and we've done minor rescues locally. It's never easy to spend a couple of hours hiking around looking for somebody, finding them, and maybe or maybe not, maybe they can self-evacuate, maybe you have to carry them. But in the Pemi Loop, that's not just a few hours. You're up there for 12, 24 hours or longer on a rescue like that. And then having it be, a body recovery just kind of affects the whole crew, really. So it's sad for the family. It's sad for the rescuers. There's no good story coming out of it at all.
Yeah. And just to go quick over the details. So at 10:20 p.m., but January 16th on Tuesday, he contacted Fish and Game saying that he was cold and concerned that, or his family contacted Fish and Game saying that he was cold, and they were concerned about him. And then he contacted them a couple hours later saying that he was getting cold and he was starting to feel hypothermia by 200 hours, which is 2 a.m. on January 17th. So the next Wednesday, they started in, and they said the rescue effort was very slow, and they had to trudge through waist deep of snow. And they got above tree line, faced amazingly heavy winds blowing snow, and they made very little progress. And they said, like, we can't do this. This is threatening our rescuers. We have to abort. And 100% awesome call, amazing call by both Fish and Game and the search and rescue volunteers to not risk their lives to go after that man up there, because that would have been a whole bigger problem, especially with like 6-7 people above there. And unfortunately, they couldn't get helicopters up there. They tried, but there was a low cloud ceiling. The winds were objectifying the rescue, so they had to abort and then start the next day. 5 p.m. mountain rescue service reached the hiker on that day, but unfortunately he was deceased. They would come off the mountain and they would start on the next day. 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, January 18th, they found where he was, and they got to him, and they recovered him by helicopter. So 37-year-old Christopher Roma of Thornton, New Hampshire. Unfortunate. Once again, thoughts and prayers go out to the family and the friends and everything. And this is a big event to a lot of hikers here up in New Hampshire. I've been reading on a lot of the social media stuff, and a lot of people are thinking about their winter hikes and, how much, like, I remember reading a couple people that are second guessing doing hikes in the winter now because of this, because the guy was an experienced hiker. He did the Triple Crown. Henri did the Triple Crown. So, but you got to once again wonder what was going through the guy's head that would make him continue on when two of his friends turned around and said, "No way, this is crazy." And I am one of those guys that I love those situations. I love the wind blowing in your face. You getting kind of just going on and seeing if you can survive. But then I'd just be like, nope, I'm right here. We're done. My life has been threatened enough. We're out of here. I don't want to push it a little bit further. So
I'll mention it's actually unclear whether or not those two friends who backed out were on the hike, or if they backed out the night before or the morning of. So that's actually still not really certain whether or not they were actually with him and turned around.
Oh, okay. I mean, Still to have it to turn
Either way.
around. Yeah. I it's a, like once again, get your mind going. It gets you thinking. Like a lot of these times I say, you know, the mountains will be there once again the next
Hmm.
day. And to take on that challenge is just way beyond what I was thinking. And people underestimate the whites and the Adirondacks and stuff like that. You can't. They might be 4,000 feet, but that's 4,000 feet of something that might be something like up in 12,000 feet in Canada or Denali or stuff like that. You know. And
Yeah.
Henry, you've done the Triple Crown. What are your thoughts on this situation?
It's sad to see such an experienced person go into something like that and go down. I think there is kind of this fuzzy line where someone who is very experienced starts to overestimate what. And I don't want to assume. I don't know exactly what he was thinking when he was planning this out, but maybe overestimating what he was capable of. I think usually when runners try to do the Pemi in a day, they're aiming for 16 hours. And there was forecasted heavy snow. As we read in that report, it was waist deep in areas. So I don't know, it's real sad. I don't have much
Yeah,
more to say than that.
and it's a touchy subject because once again, like I don't think I'd want to risk my life trying to summit a mountain or finish a hike. I would feel like this is not safe. I've done that in the Catskills, turned around in the Catskills. I've been
Oh
like,
yeah.
and that's we don't have above tree line. We don't have 60 to 80 mile an hour winds hitting us above tree line, stuff like that. We don't have that kind of thing. But I've been like, I'm weak right now. I need to turn around. This is not my day. Let's just forget about it. And to even like to been on the Pemi Loop, Henry and I, and to think that someone could get 3/4 of the way in those conditions is just absolutely insane. I would have been up probably, what is it, like Liberty and Flume. I would have got like quarter of the way up Lafayette and been like, nope, this is not cool. This is not fun.
Yeah, it's wild to think that he made it through the Franconia Ridge and Lincoln, or sorry, not Lincoln, Lafayette.
Yeah, it's crazy. So once again, everybody, once again, think about your gear in the winter. I know a lot of people on that listen to this episode probably already know their limits and stuff like that, but when you don't feel that, so in your gut, you have that gut feeling turnaround. It's definitely not worth it. The summit, especially if you have people to go home to, people that care about you and stuff like that. It's not worth it at all. But so one on the next thing, helicopter rescues trapped Kentucky hikers from snow and dangerous operation. It's really
Hmm.
weird to say Kentucky and snow. That's the one thing that I found very odd, that we got this recent cold spell and it brought snow. I saw a recent map of the snow that went all the way up from Maine, all the way down to like Georgia, the tip of Georgia, all the Smoky Mountains and stuff like that. It was really insane. But four college students from Kentucky scaled a rocky pinnacle in search of a perfect campsite, and the weather turned bad. They called for help, and search and rescue called it one of the most dangerous rescues ever attempted in the Kentucky region. So they got him by helicopter. They got him out. The clifftop site, they had to be lowered down by a Black Hawk helicopter, and they've been camping overnight, underestimated the weather conditions, and after waking up the morning covered in snow, determined that it was not safe for the attempt climbing down. So they weren't going to go back up, they were going to go down. So once again, during these conditions, these people underestimated the snow, the rain. I mean, I could understand down there because they get it very, 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 very rarely. But once again, you can't underestimate Mother Nature. But they all survived. They were all rescued. Just saying Kentucky and snow is absolutely crazy. You don't hear that every month. And rescues, hiker rescues down there. So, what's your thoughts on that crazy thing?
I it's not just that one incident, but what I've seen over the years is an enormous number of near misses that are very similar. And usually it boils down to just lack of experience and proper planning. I don't know their situation either, but I have never had to go rescue somebody in this area that did not. They could have avoided the incident or the rescue. I think the worst one we saw was in the past few years was similar. It was a group of friends that, or a group of people that had met somehow. I want to call them friends. That certainly not after the rescue was over. They weren't very happy with each other, but um, they were doing a hike that's just, I can almost see it out the window of my house around this hill called Mount Taurus, and they got only 1,300 feet up on this hill that's in the Hudson Highlands, so it's south of the Catskills. And there's some fjord area here on the river, the Hudson, that has these majestic hills that pop up from the shoreline and just jump right up to about 1,400 feet. So they're beautiful hikes and climbs. Anyways, the weather was turning bad. It was colder than they had anticipated, I think, because they were not dressed for the weather. It started to rain. There was a thunderstorm rolling in. It got dark. They didn't have any lighting besides their cell phones. So you can imagine all the mistakes that were made by them at the very beginning, being not properly prepared for the weather, for it getting dark out. Definitely, it's a safe trail in most conditions until it's not, right? So they decided to walk towards the river. They ended up being stuck on a cliff, and we got to the base of the cliff around 9 p.m. and we weren't done with the rescue till around 2 a.m. They came really close to dying in just this little trail outside of New York City by falling off a cliff in a lightning storm.
Wow.
Just because of not knowing where they were going, not planning for the weather, not packing appropriately, and so on and so on. So whatever happened with these folks that got stranded and had to be rescued by a helicopter, obviously they chose an aerial evacuation because it's probably safest for the rescuers and had the best chance of success for the folks that were up there. They were lucky they had that asset. That's not necessarily the case, right? Aircraft don't fly in bad weather. I got rescued out of the 100-mile wilderness in Maine by two game wardens in a canoe because the weather was too bad to fly in the float plane. Otherwise, it would have been an easy rescue. And instead, it turned out to be 12 plus hours of real slow moving and bad weather in a canoe, and I had a busted leg. So, you never know what the rescuers are going to have to put up with if you don't plan properly and you call them and you ask for help. They're going to try to get to you, but those folks could have been trapped up there for a few days pretty easily.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize the cost of the rescuers, that when they go out to rescue, what they have to go through, with the condition up in New Hampshire, they had to deal with that probably times two to get up through those crazy conditions. Cause a lot of people don't know they have to haul the litter up there just in case. They got to haul extra stuff on their backs. They got to just trudge through all that. And then a lot of these people don't realize how difficult a carryout can be. Carryouts with 16 people is still amazingly difficult. You got to switch every 2 to 4 minutes because you're tired. You're carrying 150 to 200 pounds. It's very, very difficult for the rescuers, not only threatening for them, but tiring and exhausting and stuff to get you out of there. So that's the one thing that I wish people would kind of see more, is a little bit more of what we're all your firefighters and search and rescue volunteers here, that they have to see behind the scene of how difficult it is to carry a person out or to help a person, how long it takes. That's the thing, how long it takes. It's not easy. I don't know. A lot of people don't understand that. Crazy stuff. Yeah. So last thing, we want to talk about, like, winter's coming in. So I have some secret winter tricks to talk about real quickly. So a lot of people have been talking about getting their spikes broken. So one thing that you should do is carry at least 3 to 4 zip ties in your backpack to zip tie those spikes. It usually rips off from the rubber, or your your little chain will break. Just carry a zip tie, zip it up temporarily for the ride home or something like that to get you back to your car. Or another thing that I found in the previous years when I was first starting is to tuck in my shoelaces so they don't get caught in the spikes of my other shoe. So I've done that several times of where I've been stepping and it got caught onto my spike and I freaking went face first into the snow and or on the ice and stuff like that. Had a really crazy bloody nose and stuff like that. So you guys got any other tips that you winter tips and tricks that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, sure. A good one is heating your water at home before you throw it in your water bottles.
Yep.
You can bring it almost up to a boil to keep it from freezing while you're out on your hike. If you've ever made it up to a summit and gone to take a swig of water and it's frozen, it's not fun, especially in dry winter conditions. If you use a water bladder, remembering to blow the water out of the hose back into the bladder after you take a drink, even if you have that insulation around the outside, it will still freeze if it's cold enough.
Awesome tips,
Yeah.
Aaron.
I have put a chemical heater, like a hand warmer, in my food bag, just to keep things easier to chew once it gets really cold out.
Very, very nice. Very smart.
Oh, I was going to say this might be something your listeners already know about, but checking mountain forecast before going out and getting actual forecasts for summit temperatures and wind chills rather than just checking the base or areas nearby.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, the food one's actually very good because I've also been hiking and you got some of those gel packs you want to take and stuff like that. You got the Gatorade gel packs and you sit there and you're like, oh man, it's not frozen, but it's sitting there. You're like feeling like a tooth's gonna come out with the gel pack at the same time. So it's not very good tips and tricks. So awesome. Thanks guys for the shooting the shit with me. I always call it that. Sorry, Aaron. I can edit this out if you want me to for the organization, if you want me to.
We're going to be okay.
Okay. So I'd like to thank the monthly supporters, Darren White, Vicky Ferreira, John Comiskey, Jim C., Michael Bongner, David Mead, Matt Smith, and Denise Weiss. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Also, thank you to Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and the White Mountains. She's an officiant for getting married and a license guide, but she is also a story maker. Molly won't just give you photos, she'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even just brush up on some of your old skills in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have amazing backgrounds in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and the Mountain Rescue Association, and they are there for you to learn old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. They teach first aid, compass, map and compass, many other skills that could help you and others while on their trail. Check them out on their website and all social media platforms. So, you guys having anything to drink tonight?
Do you want the truth?
Definitely. The crew, nice.
A Spindrift sparkling water.
Hey, that's
I'm drinking sparkling water too. We're hardcore over here.
So what's up with the sparkling water? What's the benefit of that? No cramps?
You know what? I think it's an East Coast thing because until I retired from the Army and moved to the East Coast, I'd never considered ever drinking sparkling water. It seems to be everywhere around here. I go back to where I grew up on the West Coast, and I don't see anybody ordering anything or drinking this stuff at all. So you'll have to explain to me, East Coast folks, why it is so popular.
Please, definitely. And Henry, you had a LaCroix, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Nice.
Pamplemousse.
Nice.
Very
Also
fancy.
my favorite flavor. Yeah.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Nice.
Because we spend so much time together.
That's right.
Well, that's good. At least you know each other. Just having actually Hilton Head Island rum and Coke. So I my wife has been hiding. We went down the Hilton Head Island a while back and she's been hiding a rum and I found the rum. So I used it tonight. So she's like, I don't want to drink it because we don't know when we're going to go back. I'm like, oh, I'm going to drink it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a good reason to go back.
Exactly. So you guys been on any previous hikes lately that you want to chat about?
previous hikes that I want to share.
Yeah, local, whatever. Not anything in the past life, I guess, the past year.
Sure. How about if Henry goes first? I'm always curious to hear what he's had going on.
True.
Oh, this Sunday I went up and did Bull Hill and the Undercliff Trail in Hudson Highlands State Park Preserve. That's an easy one for me. It's right in the backyard. I think I hit the trailhead about 45-second walk from my front door.
Nice.
My wife and I maintain part of that trail for the trail conference, so it was good to get up there and check on that. It's actually my first long hike I've done since a knee injury in the fall, so it was on doctor's orders. Get out there and
Nice.
start working it.
Nice. Good for you. Glad you got back out. What was the conditions?
There was probably 3-4 inches of snow the whole way, a couple big icy slabs. So definitely, even in the lower Hudson Valley, there's still a lot of snow on the ground. So bring your spikes if you're coming out. Maybe not after this week with the rain.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now I'm getting snow up here, so but it's wet snow. So Aaron, what about you, sir?
I was fortunate enough to leave a job last year and took some time off, long enough to do about, I don't know, 400 or 500 miles on the Appalachian Trail. And that's the first time I've done a long section of solo, where I think the entire time I camped in Connecticut, most of New York and New Jersey, one night there was somebody else at the campsite at the shelter. Otherwise, it was just nothing. And in Connecticut and New Jersey, you can't build fires at the shelters on the AT, right? So it's getting dark at 6, and there's no fire, and you're really just kind of by yourself, right? So it started out like that was really awesome, and then it started to get a little tiresome, I guess. So I practiced what I think Henry would have encouraged was I was getting up super early, like I would start hiking at 4 in the morning, just because I wanted to get more than a couple of hours of daylight in during the day, and I would keep going until I'd be hiking with the headlamp at night because it feels late, right? But it's only like 6. So that was my longest time in doing backpacking. Pretty easy to support since I live on the Hudson River, just down the street from Henry, really. But that was a good one. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. 500 miles. Wow. All solo?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Unbelievable.
Going the wrong direction, the wrong time of year. As Henry very clearly pointed out. Are you sure?
Is that what you said to him when he said he was going to do it?
It sounds like it must have.
Well, I mean, just as long as where was it? Where was it that you started and ended again? Are you doing it in sections? I'm guessing you're section
I
hiking.
jumped around a bit, but I was up as far as the just a few, dozen miles or so into Vermont, and then down as far as the Delaware Water Gap.
Oh wow, that's a good nice little trip. Excellent. Cool. Yeah. That's fantastic. I recently was up at a place in Oneonta called Mud Lake. It's actually one of the few hikes around here that you can do some good, decent elevation gain, probably like 900 feet of elevation gain, total around 5 miles. No views. We have very little views up here. We're the foothills of the Catskills. So we just have tree cover everywhere. But beautiful snowy day. We got a couple inches of snow that day, and I decided I wanted to be out there in the snow and the wind and stuff. It felt great. And then the next week, the next couple days, we did a SAR drill down at Colgate Lake in the Catskills, and we did shelter building and fire building. So, I mean, you guys probably know this, being fire volunteers, and search and rescue volunteers, shelter building sometimes is critical and stuff like that if you want to spend the night or if you want to keep a patient warm, and if they're in hypothermia, or even just so if you need to spend a night. So we had what we had in our packs. You got to do what you got to do, build a shelter and fire. Some people had crazy awesome fires going inside of their tent, was 80 something degrees. Some of us, had it like good old 60 degrees, stuff like that. Perfect when you have a blanket or something like that. And then, once we started getting our fires going and tents going. All of a sudden, those huge, I don't know if you guys got them, but the crazy squalls hit. And, we got like 2 inches in a matter of an hour and like, 30, 40 mile an hour winds constant. So it was perfect day for one of those type of drills to where you have to find a spot to have where the wind is exactly perfect to where it will not go into the tent to suffocate your victim with the smell of the smoke and stuff like that and choke him and stuff like that, but you have the projection of the wind to blow that hot air into the tent. And it was a really cool drill. And the way home was actually a very scary drive because there was like 3 or 4 of those squalls, and usually it takes me an hour and 20 minutes, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get home because of that. It was amazing crap that happens. It was a great drill. So
It's a good test of your shelter building skills too.
Yep. Straight up
Yeah.
tarp and just plastic like painter's sheet of clear plastic, 2 mil plastic. And I was lucky, they gave us all different coordinates, went around and we set up where we had. I was lucky. I had a couple down trees, so I got nice twigs to start the fire and then big branches to get the fire going. But those branches were so dried out that, every 2 minutes I'd have to go get more firewood and just keep going and keep going. Bigger you get, but still they would burn so quick that you're just like, wow. And you don't realize how much like firewood you have to go through when it's that cold and you want to keep it that warm inside your shelter. And it really like makes you think in the winter, like, man, this is like some of the stuff that the Rangers would have to do. I've heard stories from the Rangers and stuff that they have to keep a person overnight on the top of, Wittenberg Mountain or stuff like that with a fire, that they'd have to keep them warm and stuff because of, hypothermia or a broken leg or stuff like that. So cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a great reason to add a saw, just a little saw to your winter kit.
Yep. One of our guys had a knife that was probably a good 3 or 4 inches, and it had like a 2-inch saw on there. And it's just like interesting. It was just like amazing, huge knife that had every sort of bit whatsoever that you needed. So crazy stuff. So gonna do a little weather forecast real quick for the weekend, but all the week we're supposed to be getting this is recording on Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rain. Not like too much, but a decent amount that'll cover that snow and make it a complete sheet of ice. Saturday, it looks like a high of 36 with a little bit of light snow at the nighttime. And then Sunday, a high of 34. Wind chills getting down into like the mid 20s, stuff like that. So everything's going to be a complete sheet of ice. Bring your micro spikes. Highly doubtful you'll need snowshoes, but put them in the car just in case, or pack them on just to test your like strength. And but once again, it's just crazy weather we're having. No snow, rain, ice, and stuff like that. You get snow for a week and you feel good, and then all of a sudden you get crapped on once again in the Northeast. Northeast is the most unpredictable place in the world. It's crazy. All right. So I'm going to hit the sponsors and then we'll get on to the episode. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So is it time for some new gear hiking in the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs. Footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze-dried meals, Catskill merchandise, and more. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs. Located in Tannersville and online, check them out at campcatskill.com. If you want stickers, stop here too. Also, if you're ready to hit the trail, make sure you take the scenic route. Scenic route guidings are here to help you with your goals, big or small, like Marcy or Slide or the Lone or the Sewards. Check out Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code MountainLine. Also, check out Another Summit, a nonprofit program that leads outdoor adventures and activities for veterans and first responders for free. Activities like walking or hiking, or even backpacking and paddling trip. Check out anothersummit.org for more information and dates on future events. You guys are putting pressure on me. That's why I messed that up. You guys are putting pressure on me.
I think you did a great job describing the surface of a mission.
I got to come up with a new one for everybody because it's starting to get old. It's starting to get old for me, so I can imagine people that listen to this. But so let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight I have Aaron and Henry here from Another Summit, a nonprofit organization that has been sponsoring the show for a while now, and they lead outdoor adventure and activities for veterans and first responders for free. Amazing program that I learned about back in July of last year or June of last year. And Henry also told me about that when he was on, when he talked about the Triple Crown as well. But I got deep into it when I went on the trip with them for the Pemi Loop back in June of 2023. And it was one of the craziest days, 3 days of my life. And but one of the most memorable times of my life. So great to have them here. So welcome to the show, Aaron and Henry. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't you give a little background about yourself? Aaron, let's go first.
Sure. So Aaron Leonard, I grew up in the Bay Area of Northern California, just north of San Francisco. Spent really very limited time outdoors as a teenager. I enlisted in the Army, though, when I was 18, and I retired when I was 46. So I spent 27 years in the military. I was an artilleryman when I left, plenty of times around the world, especially after 9/11. And as I was leaving the military, a few years out from that, I had a chance to do a 1 week outward bound for veterans expedition in Minnesota, out of Ely, Minnesota. It was a dog sledding trip in the Boundary Waters. And I was just blown away by this thing called Therapeutic Outdoor Adventure, which was the type of program they run for military veterans. And I started doing that work with a nonprofit in New York City called Project Rebirth. They actually were a filmmaking nonprofit that captured the entire rebuilding of Lower Manhattan using 14 35 millimeter cameras, time-lapse photography for 10 years. And they followed 9 people for 10 years to capture their recovery after the 9/11 attacks. And that's a very direct connection to the military, especially my experience, my time in, and anybody else who joined after 9/11. That was a catalyst for a lot of change for us. So they were interested in creating a outdoor program. And just by chance, I met them when I was stationed in Texas. And one day I was leading a trip for that organization. Not that I knew what I was doing yet. I guess I was practicing the fake it till you make it process, right? But I was a professional leader in the Army, and I knew how to manage risk, and I knew how to lead people. So it wasn't hard for me to lead a bunch of soldiers that were stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, out by the far western edge of Texas on a week-long backpacking trip in the desert. And that one experience made me decide to retire and then figure out how I can do work in this field, whatever that was. And that led me to today, where 10 years later, I'm running Another Summit, and the opportunity to work with Henri and all the other great folks that are part of our team.
Awesome. So thank you for your service, by the way. Amazing. 27 years, right?
Yes.
Wow. What was your ranking again?
And so I started out as a private, and then 10 years into my career, I went to OCS and became a lieutenant. And when I retired, I was a lieutenant colonel.
Nice. Wow. Awesome. Amazing. Once again, thank you for your service. And once again, we'll be talking more about Another Summit. And I thank you for that service as well, because that's very important to first responders and veterans, please. So, Henry, what about you, sir? You've already been on here 2 times, so keep it short. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I got started in the outdoors at a very young age. I went through the Scouts, so it was a big part of my growing up. When I went to college, I kind of backed off from it for a while and moved up from where I was in Florida to New York. And that move was a little tough on me, and it was going back out into the outdoors that really helped me adjust to being up here. Long story short, I got more into backpacking, eventually hiked the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, came back from that and decided I really wanted to make it a part of my life to help introduce other people to the outdoors and share that healing that I was able to get out of it. And that's when my wife and I got licensed to guide and started taking people from the city out, mostly in the Hudson Valley. fast forward, I did the Continental Divide Trail, came back. I moved up to Nelsonville, where I live now. And after the search and rescue that Aaron had actually talked about earlier with the hikers in February who were on that cliff, I'd read that in the newspaper, and a few people had sent me articles, and my wife and I were like, "Oh, this is something we can actually help with. We have the skills to assist in these kinds of rescue missions." So we contacted the local fire department, which is where I met Aaron, and which is how I got to Another Summit.
All right. So once again, you just said you didn't say the Triple Crown though, Henry. Come on, you got to say that you've done the Triple Crown. Not
Oh,
just the
okay, yeah,
PCD.
I mentioned all the trails. I did the Triple Crown. I did the Florida Trail. I've probably got 12,000 plus miles of backpacking under my feet. I stopped keeping count. I'm not a big numbers guy.
Awesome. Awesome.
But
So
we
this,
are. We love to talk about Henry whenever we can.
well, I mean, you have rights to brag, both of you. So I would be bragging about that stuff. So amazing backgrounds in both of you. So the combination of both. So Aaron is the program director and Henry is the deputy program director of Another Summit. You guys want to chat really quickly about Another Summit?
I'll give you the program director version. I would love to hear Henry share about what it's like on the ground for all of our awesome volunteer outdoor leaders at Another Summit. So after 9/11, there was a rapid growth of veteran serving organizations across the country, and it had to do with more awareness of the psychological impacts of the trauma associated with working in either on a combat deployment or surrounding yourself in that type of environment. This is not unique, clearly, to U.S. soldiers or U.S. members of the military. It's common among any population or community, military or civilian, that's exposed to these types of day-to-day stressors that come with that environment. You can look at the news tonight, and you'll become reminded of millions of people that are going through those similar situations right now. Most popular ones that we hear about, of course, are Ukraine and then in Israel. But like those populations, when they come out the other end of their conflicts, they're going to have the same problem that we had with a lot of our service members. And this has been going on since the beginning of civilization, we feel. So here in the United States, we have the opportunity to leverage some of our wealth into using these unique modalities to help alleviate some of the stress that comes with post-service experiences. So you've come out of the military, or you've left, or you're still in perhaps the military or the first responder community, maybe police or fire. In those communities, you have this regular exposure over time to traumatic events. You can imagine the daily life of a police officer in a high stress area. It's going to be constant stress all the time. And you're not, as a human, that stress will just build up and builds up and builds up. And a lot of folks can get into these unhealthy habits to try to self-medicate, or they can start to experience post-traumatic stress symptoms or signs. They can go into depression, anxiety. They might have suicidal ideations, all while they're still in the service, and definitely when they get out. And the role that I wanted to get involved in was somebody's left the military or they've left the first responder community, and they're trying to transition into this new civilian lifestyle, which I did myself. I lived through this myself. I had all of the signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress. I struggled a lot with my transition. And all of us to deal with these the results of our service time differently. But in my case, when I did that Outward Bound for Veterans expedition, when I got exposed to wilderness therapy. So what we run is a version of wilderness therapy. It's technically called a therapeutic outdoor adventure program. So we don't have clinicians on staff that are designing programs or working with clients. We have non-clinicians, many of them volunteers or staff like Henry or myself, and we're not clinicians. Like we're not social workers, we're not therapists in the sense that we carry a license. So, but we can still practice some of the same techniques that somebody would to create an environment that will allow for some personal growth, for some abilities to make some connections through metaphors with the environment and personal life, to create some social strength, but by creating opportunity, making friends, shared experiences, all these things we know, and I felt this on this Outward Bound trip. All these things we know will help to decrease a person's sense of loneliness, which is the key part of what could become suicidality in somebody, or also to increase a person's sense of belonging. Also gets at that sense of purpose in their life is recreated. So there's some things that I learned early on in this career field, 10 years ago for me, that I thought were really unique. And it's such an easy thing to offer up a hike or a paddle of some kind or go fishing. But I wasn't aware of like, how do you structure that? It's a very big world, right? And it's not easy for a lot of folks to access these types of outdoor programs. And over the years, I've had a chance to work on or be part of many different program models, professional organizations. I've done some research projects with the University of Utah and Prescott College. I went on and got a graduate degree in outdoor education and leadership from Prescott College. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're one of the founding schools in this world of outdoor adventure and experiential education, which we all spend time in.
Nice.
And then it came to another summit, and it was just a chance encounter with the founders, one of whom was on a SEAL team for about 6 years, and another who wasn't, but they went to high school together, and they came up with this idea to create Guardian Revival, and they wanted to have a hiking program, but they didn't know how to do it. So I was asked to volunteer and advise them. I decided to, as a volunteer, to run the program for the past few years. And what we've designed with, me being there and all these other people like Henri, his wife, Lauren, my wife, Leslie, who has always been helping me with developing aspects of programs like this. We've designed a therapeutic outdoor adventure program that's really meant to most benefit military veterans and first responders by purposely creating these hikes and trips and outings that are led by professionals that have these great positive impacts on their sense of well-being, their overall sense of well-being. So from where I work at the organization, I've been able to influence a lot of that program design, creating the opportunities to help us receive some funding from private sources, knowing the community that we're working with, because I am a veteran and I am also a first responder. So I can have a voice in both of those communities and encourage the partnerships and I understand the little things, like the average age of the veteran community is 65. We have 18.5 million living veterans in the United States today, and half of them are 65 or older. So think about that. This is not an outdoor program that's meant to be a bunch of fit people going up to the top of a mountain. This is offering a chance to just sit outside and go bird watching or do a walk around a pond or learn how to fly fish. Doesn't have to be physically challenging every time we go outside. Rethink the idea of what an outing is. Prioritize making it as accessible as possible for marginalized communities, for people who don't have access to transportation, for people that don't have any mobility. Like creating the same type of outdoor experiences that you would give to a fully fit and able-bodied participant, but make it so that any age and any physical ability level can participate. So that was my approach to this whole thing. It's going to have a therapeutic outcome. It's going to be accessible to everybody. It has to be well funded. It has to have full-time staff. We can't rely solely on volunteers. We have to grow to be a professional outdoor program. We have to be recognized by the state of New York. We founded and we currently run the New York State Outdoor RX Coalition, which has over 200 member organizations.
Wow.
And we advocate for change in policy and legislation that makes it easier for veterans and to get outside, right? To access our public lands and our public waters. So we're working from the top down and from the bottom up all at the same time. We're partnering with the VAs. We're partnering with any veteran serving organization that's in our area. We belong to the right coalitions. we publish research in academic journals that we perform right here in New York through our company, right?
Wow.
So we're hitting this from all these different angles at my level and with the people that I work with in my larger collaboration efforts. But the work itself, the most important thing happens on the ground. It's that interaction between the outdoor leader and the participant. That's the priority at all times. That is the number one thing on our list. And we brought Henri on board because we needed somebody to spearhead the relationships that we have with our volunteer outdoor leaders, our paid outdoor leaders, any contractor we hire, the trips that we design. Like somebody has to design the actual outing. Somebody has to pick the trail that maybe is not the devil's path, right, for the retirees. So,
Yeah.
We had it when I met Henri and his wife Lauren, who are both triple crowners, and I was like, what? Because I knew what that was. A lot of people around here don't. I said,
Yeah.
there's no way. I like to say there's fewer triple crowners than astronauts. I don't know if that's really true, but it sounds really good, right? So when I met Henri, I told all the guys at the firehouse, I'm like, you don't understand what these two have done, But the gentleman that founded our trip, he's a SEAL. He didn't know what triple crowners were. I explained it to him, and it's like, yeah, they're like the SEAL Team 6 of the backpacking community, right? Nobody does that. The mental discipline it takes to do that much time on a trail is unbelievable. And not to mention the physical, the discomforts. Henri and Lauren were sold to me as soon as I heard that. I met them, I talked to them, and then on top of that, they're great people to be with. So, real cue for us. It's almost like it was destined to hire Henri. Henri is doing what I consider the most important work at another summit, which is supporting our outdoor leaders and ensuring that what we offer to our participants is world-class experiences. We don't charge for it. We will offer outings this year that people would pay $250, $500, $1,000 or more to participate in. But we're doing it at no cost, and we're doing it to help our participant discover a healthy civilian lifestyle that they may not currently have. And we know that it works, and we can see the changes in them as it happens. And we know that people have found something that they can rely on by becoming part of our organization. And although we're small and we don't have a big impact because we just operate right here in the lower Hudson Valley, we don't have a big impact. We're not going to become national. There are so many veterans and first responders within 50 miles of our headquarters in Beacon, New York. We never have to leave this area. What we have to do is capture what's working for us and share it as wide and far as possible so that this recently born community of veteran service organizations that are working with veterans and in growing numbers, veterans and first responders can learn from us and what's working for us, just as we learn from everybody else in the industry of what's worked for them in the past. So that's what I'm doing at another summit to help this thing work. And I think Henri's got some really good things to say about what it's like to work on the ground. He's the one that's out there in the field most often.
Yeah. So Henri, go ahead.
Oh, that's a hard act to follow. Nice work, Aaron.
Tough. Well done.
Yeah. So I think one thing I want to underline is these events are meant to be fun and they're meant to be educational. I think Aaron said it really well. Not every single hike that we're throwing out there is a PEMI loop. And we offer, really intro level hiking classes for people who are first starting to get into it. Something that's worth mentioning too is that the bulk majority of the programs we offer are also open to friends and family of first responders, so that and veterans. So if someone is a little bit nervous about getting out there and trying something like this for the first time, we welcome them to bring in someone they know to make it a little bit more comfortable. We offer anywhere between 4, 8, 16 trips a month, depending on what you're looking to do. This year, we're doing weekly canoe trips. We have fly fishing trips, hiking, backpacking, multi-day canoeing. And I think something that makes our program really powerful is the staff that we have. And the people who lead these trips are trained trip leaders who are either volunteers or staff And I think there's just as much power in going out and experiencing one of these trips as there is in actually being the person to lead them. And we encourage members who join us for trip after trip after trip to step up and go through some training and become a trip leader themselves. So there's opportunities not just to get out there, learn something new, enjoy the camaraderie of being in a group in the outdoors, but also being able to step up into a leadership position and actually share some of these experiences with other people.
Yeah, being not I'm not a veteran. I'm a first responder, but the organization is so important because of the camaraderie. Um, Being on that Pemi loop with people that I had no clue about, I've only met Henri, but there is a relationship that have with them now that I feel connected with them. I chat with them, stuff like that. And to have that again, Aaron, once again, I wasn't never in the military, but if you leave the military, you leave some of the people that you've been with for life that you think about every day, stuff like that. And you might chat with them, but you might not never see them again. You get hooked up with another summit, you'll meet your friends that have been in the military, friends that are first responder, friends that have been in the same situations. And now you have people that are just like you, and you can connect with them once again, not through combat or through saving somebody's life or something like that, but on a little more adventure where you can connect and you can feel safe. And the camaraderie is just absolutely amazing that I went through. I was a kind of like a lone ranger on that one hike because I was a search and rescue volunteer with a bunch of military people, firefighters and stuff. So, but just I felt the connection, and this is very important for our first responders and for our veterans because you need people to talk to, you need friends, you need outdoor activities, you need something to keep you occupied. If you're having those, like you said, Aaron, those thoughts or something like that to keep you out of that mindset. And this is absolutely, when I learned about this, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. So amazing for you guys for participating in this, as well as doing your volunteer work and your your military service. So amazing. So what about so another summit is part of Guardian Revival. What's Guardian Revival? That's another cool thing that I learned about.
It is. It is. So Guardian Revival was founded by two young men who grew up in Carmel, New York, Alex and Chris, Alex Othmer and Chris Watkins. Alex and Chris played football together. They went to different colleges. I think Chris played football in Fordham, and Alex played at the Merchant Marine Academy. So Alex is the one who went off and became a SEAL officer. Uh, in the military community, some people will move into those fields, and they're very unique in a lot of ways. They have a lot of drive. They have a lot of discipline, enormous amount of discipline. So when I met Alex, I was just blown away by somebody who, is 25. Is that being generous to me? Maybe years younger than I am. And I thought, I would work for this guy. So he was starting a company called Guardian Revival. Guardians being defined as people who are in the military, veterans of the military, folks that are currently first responders or used to be first responders. That was the original idea. And it was designed to help them live a healthy lifestyle, to revive and preserve the mental health and the well-being of that community through different types of work. The types of work that we were going to do were kind of unknown at the time. This was 2019. What happened in 2020 is the pandemic, right? So everything paused. But then when it started back up again is when I got invited in. And that was early of 2021. So last year was our second full year of operations as Guardian Revival. And we currently have 4 programs. We have another summit, which is our therapeutic outdoor adventure program that offers walks and hikes, paddles and backpacking and overnight canoeing and fly fishing. And we teach a field craft class, the whole shelter, water, fire, tools, food process. We have an emerging outdoor leader training academy that's going to help folks get the skills and certifications needed to find employment in the outdoors. We have, a growing program that we hope to have 2,000 members part of in another summit by the end of this year. So another summit, though, is just one of these 4 programs. The other 3 are pretty cool. One's called Boots and Paws, probably the most popular one, as the name might imply. It has to do with dogs, not service animals, but we call companion animals. So they're breeds that are chosen on purpose to get somebody off their couch and outside. So they're dogs that are working towards providing the therapeutic benefits of animal companionship. We have a music therapy program called Encore. It has a label. It has music on Spotify, and what they focus on is creating these opportunities for veterans and first responders, for our guardians, to get connected to making music. We have what we call jams regularly in this area, where we work out of Beacon, Mahopac, and Carmel. Like, these are all towns and villages that your listeners probably aren't familiar with, but we work on the just south of Poughkeepsie, New York, around the Beacon area, and to the east of the Hudson River is our primary footprint, all the way into Connecticut. And then our last program, which is really probably going to grow into be the most important work we do, is called G Connect, or Guardian Connect, and that's a peer-to-peer program that's meant to line up a person who has similar experiences to somebody who's in need of help. But we train the peer, the guardian who's helping their colleague out in some therapeutic methodologies that allow them to help a person navigate through the complex system of benefits, the exposure to things that we can offer, everything from sleep hygiene, which is like how to develop a good way to sleep. Believe it or not, there's ways that work better than others, right? Henri and I aren't drinking alcohol tonight, but I don't drink at all anymore. It's because of my need to have real sleep. And I found that alcohol does nothing but interfere with my ability to process my past experiences at night. So they just don't go away, right? You learn things like that through programs like G Connect. We have all sorts of opportunities for anybody of any age who is a guardian, in that case, to be connected with folks in this community, to get them out of their house, to get back involved with the social life, to get them the health care they need, to identify what different types of therapies might be beneficial to them. So those are our 4 programs: Another Summit, Boots and Paws, Encore, and G Connect, all of which are very well described on our website. And we are open for people to join, to sign up and be part of this.
Wow. That is so versatile, all over the place, to help people out, to help our military people, first responders. That's amazing. I'm definitely want to look into different programs of that, just to hear about it, just maybe get them on the show and talk about it, because it just sounds so cool. Boots and Paws, G Connect, that's absolutely fantastic. So check out Guardian Revival, another basically the leader of another summit. So diverse, all over the place, with the help of our veterans and first responders. It's amazing. So this idea came from one guy. What was his name again?
2 gentlemen, Alex Othmer and Chris Watkins.
Awesome. And they connected just because of their experience and stuff like that, and found out that this would be a great benefit for our military people and the first responders. Awesome. That's absolutely phenomenal. So how do you think, from your perspectives, being in the military and being a first responder, Henri, how does this help out people with these situations?
I think, like we spoke about before, getting out and having the opportunity to be with like-minded people, doing a healthy activity, expanding your interests, learning something new. These are all great ways to work on your own mental health, and they're great things to share with others as well.
With your firsthand experience of being with the Number Summit, how do you see what do you see that helps them out?
Yeah, I think getting out there, teaching people new skills, and giving them the chance to learn something new and spend time with others is really what we're trying to get at.
getting that, like I said, when being on that hike with you guys was just getting to talk, to hear the talk to different people, and just seeing the smiles and stuff like that, even though we were having rough days, was phenomenal. And helping each other out, being friends for each other with not even, knowing their first name for, 5 minutes and stuff like that. It's really fantastic. So, Aaron, what about you? How do you, in your perspective, how does this help out the veterans and first responders?
Well, for those who participate, there's a clear impact, a positive impact on both their psychological and their social health. But I've I've learned to approach this also from a point of view of barriers that folks have to access to our parks and public lands, especially in this region where we work, where we're just surrounded by these beautiful places you can go. And through other job I had in the past, I was able to work in New York on a piece of legislation called the Outdoor RX Act, and it resulted in a study that we conducted in New York to examine barriers that military veterans face when accessing New York State parks, public lands, and waters. And we found that a lot of the barriers were due to just a lack of knowledge or a lack of education, not having the confidence in what people perceive as the need to have this great outdoor skill, not understanding that they don't have to drop a couple of grand on equipment at REI before they can stay overnight in a state park, not understanding the great educational programs that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation offers, right, around fishing education or wildlife education. The benefits already in place for the veteran community. Most of us can get free lifetime access to all state parks if they carry a disability rating of 40% or greater from the VA. So just that lack of knowledge and my experiences in other parts of the country has convinced me that one of the things another summit can provide is education. We can teach people how to do the simplest thing. Go to a state park that has no fee to access and walk around a pond and do that with your friends and family, because that's what we want people to do. We're not asking people to join another summit and then go on all of these outings with us. We just want them to come to one and just learn one thing, like you can do this on your own, right? You can bring your kids out and do it. You can bring your friends out and do it. You don't have to go on a trip with us. If you want to learn how to fly fish and then take your friends fly fishing or go by yourself, we can teach you how to do that. You can come to a couple of classes with us and you'll probably be okay. Your confidence level will go up. Plus, you'll learn how to use the DEC website to find public fishing access. Until you learn how to do that, it's a barrier, right? We can teach you how to use public transportation to access some of the best state parks in this area just by catching a train ride out of Grand Central. We have we have over 200,000 veterans who live in New York City and an unknown number of first responders. So, 500,000 people easily that we're reaching into the city to get them out up here and show them how they can do it without having to drive, because a lot of the older folks in particular, they're not driving, right? How to create an outing inside an urban environment. You don't have to go into the backcountry to be outdoors. You could stay within a half an hour walk of your car or the trailhead and be in the outdoors, benefiting from the experience. So we want to, through another summit, we can teach that, right? We can inform people, we can educate. We don't have to do it in person either. We can educate people through video shorts. We've been creating a series of them to run an educational program so that people can be exposed to the opportunities, never once spend any time with us at all, but just learn about what they can do from where they live in this area, right? What they can access and how they can find information and, just make it easier for people to access the outdoors. So everything Henri does has a strong educational component, which he mentioned, right? We have to have written curriculum for every single outing, which is unique for a company. If you lead a 2-hour day hike, you're teaching a lesson plan as an outdoor leader.
Yeah.
And even if the lesson is simply how to practice leave no trace principles effectively, including planning for your trip, which we talked about at the very beginning, of this podcast about the importance of properly planning for your outdoor time, right? Or if you only learn how to read a trailblaze correctly, or that you should always have a paper map. Like these are the very basic. Here's where you can go, and these are the few things you need to know how to do. We'll teach that every single time we take people outdoors to try to broaden that educational impact. So that's that educational impact, I think. Yeah, the psychosocial stuff is super important, but the educational impact has to be very purposeful.
Yeah. And that's, you talk about not even just being on a firsthand experience. I didn't know about, doing online stuff and, over the phone education as well. That benefits a lot of people who can't, make it to the trailhead or do not want to travel this far of a distance. I didn't know about that. That's amazing. That benefits a lot. And then maybe, once you do that online education, maybe they'll be interested to come to a different trailhead or something like that, or approach it at a different angle and then get the first hand experience like Henri teaches. Henri, you want to chat about your, first your on hand experiences about another summit, what you have seen from the impacts that you've done with your trips and such?
Yeah, I think that I feel like a broken record here, but
No.
the we have a little trip log that we pass around after we do our multi-day trips for people to sign, and we hear the same things that we see written in that after day long, single day outings, is the sense of camaraderie and joy that comes out of spending time outdoors with a group, even strangers, like you mentioned before, is something really powerful for people. And that's not just, the guardian community, but also the friends and family that are coming out and experiencing time with each other. And I think, something that I've loved about guiding in every aspect, whether it's with another summit or on my own, is taking someone who maybe they signed up for something and they weren't quite sure they were going to be able to do it, and having them go through the motion, slowly building up confidence and walking off the trailhead with a new sense of accomplishment that they were able to achieve a goal that maybe they didn't think was obtainable before. It's a really powerful thing to watch someone go through, and it's a powerful thing for them to go through as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, being there, like I said, when I was with you guys with the Pemi Loop and we had 2 days of rain, it was crazy, disgusting days, kind of miserable. Everybody had their head down and stuff, but we still connected. I felt at the end of the hike, we were, hugging each other, saying, let's keep in touch, giving each other names, giving each other, emails, stuff like that, connecting. And, I had no clue who any of these people were. I knew who you were. And then just over 3 days, being with you guys made that connection. And now, I'm in touch with a bunch of these people, and my mind, is always just like, oh, I wonder what these guys are doing. Would they want to come on a hike with me or something like that? Or would they ever want to do that? And to get, your mind going in that way, not just for me, but for somebody who's been through some, military experience or, first responders, some of their experiences that they've had, to get their mind off of that and to travel, to get away from all that thought of what they possibly have been through in the past, is a huge impact. And then, taking them out in the wilderness, and then, they might, like me, being 40 years old, it's crazy how fast, bird watching has caught up to me. Like, I'm just like, oh, is that a bluebird? I'm like, oh my God, to have somebody be like, look at this right over here. That's a thrush. Do you hear that sound? That's a thrush. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden they're connected to bird watching. It's crazy. And you guys offer that really, really well in all these different organizations, not just like hiking, but like you said, paddling, backpacking, bird watching, walking around a pond, going around a local park. It's awesome to do it. It's an amazing organization. I don't know. I have so much to say, but I don't know how to say it about this. This is very helpful for the people that need it. And I wish we could reach out more. That's why I'm doing this, is I want people to hear about this. I think we need more of this in our country. I'm hoping you guys agree with me.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of people like help out, reach out to your veteran first responders to tell them about another summit or Guardian Revival or any way to get outside, because a lot of people don't know that outdoor therapy is very, very helpful for almost any human being, and they don't understand it until they do it. So it's crazy. Aaron, your firsthand on experience with the military. How did you get into being outdoors and stuff? Was that the military introduced you to that, or something else beyond that?
A lot of people assume that if you're in the military, you're like in a movie, that you're running around in the woods, or if you deploy into a place like, when I was in, we would go to Iraq a lot, that it was just explosions and bullets flying. But that's not the case. The reality is that there's a lot of different ways people serve this country in the military. And you might be, an enlisted sailor on a submarine, or like one of my daughters is a medic or was a medic in the Air Force. And her one deployment was to Guam, to an air base. Like, they're in the military and they have their own experiences, but you're not really necessarily spending any time outdoors, not the way that we would. And I did a short couple of years with the light infantry division back in the early 90s. And we did spend a lot of time in the woods, but we did it in platoons, and we carried rifles, and we slept in a foxhole. I mean, when's the last time any of us here dug a 6 foot deep hole to sleep in? That'd be
Never,
weird, right?
never.
Talk about violating some leave no trace. The military does not follow leave.
Yeah, 3
Henry and
feet.
I actually joked that we should do like a leave no trace video for first responders on rescues, so that we remember to pick up all of our bloody bandages and wrappers off the ground before we walk away.
Just imagine the way you are now with you being in the military. Then she'd be like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you dropping that there? Pick that up. Take that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some stories that the environmental conservation folks would not be too happy with. But I was on my last deployment to Iraq in 2011. We have soldiers in Iraq right now. I have a former colleague, who's a lieutenant colonel now, who was a captain under me back in 2011. He's in Iraq right now. He's part of an advisory assistant advice brigade. It's a unit that specializes in advising foreign militaries on how to do a better job as a military. So, but in 2011, the administration at the time, which was President Obama administration, we were withdrawing completely. So we pulled everybody out of Iraq. The only thing that was left behind was our embassy personnel. And I was in a position where I managed like the air cover for the final 500 soldiers that left. So I was flying in a helicopter back and forth between Kuwait and the Nasra area of Iraq, which is in southern Iraq. So I remember when that helicopter landed. I'd been in that country. The first time I was there was in 1991 during Desert Storm, and oddly enough, pretty much the same place that I was at that point when I landed on this helicopter. So we landed in Kuwait, and I got out of the helicopter for the last time, and it was like this immense relief that I would never have to go back to that country again, never have to be part of this again. And I wasn't even thinking about retiring, but I guess it was in the back of my mind, because just like right around that same time, or right after I got off that helicopter, I got this weird advertisement from Outward Bound offering veteran trip. And me and two of my colleagues, with the three of us, signed up together, and we took a couple of weeks off, leave in March of 2012, did this week-long dog sledding trip in Boundary Waters. And that was it. That's what got me involved in the outdoor community. I call it the outdoor field. The field we work in is very diverse. We specialize in outdoor adventure and experiential education. It's a very broad field. People get PhDs in this stuff. It's not it's not guiding, it's not teaching, it's not therapist or clinical work. It's like this combination of things. It takes a certain type of person, I think, to be successful in doing it. And I wasn't aware of any. I didn't know this stuff existed. I knew that you could spend time at a park, but I had no idea there was structured programs with trained leaders that you can create that. There's about 300 organizations that run outdoor programming for veterans in the United States today, and they're all nonprofits, and they range in size from a couple of staff that are all volunteers to organizations that have presence all across the country and have millions of dollars in their budgets. So it's an interesting field. It's not black and white by any means. It's very particular, and it's, I like to tell this story is related to how we approach the work. Is of all the veteran service organizations that provide a structured, well-led outdoor program that has some therapeutic benefit, all of them together are only affecting less than 1% of the veteran population in the United States.
Wow.
99% of our veteran population, and I'm not talking about first responders because that's a big question mark. 99% of our veteran population will never even have an opportunity to participate in any type of outdoor program that teaches them anything. And in the United States, on a good day, about half of our population spends one day a year on purpose in the outdoors. Many of us, like yourself, spend much more time. Part of that's because you're blessed with where you live and the opportunities you have. But half of the population of our country doesn't spend any time on purpose outdoors. They don't benefit from any of the outdoor time. If they spend time in a park, it's because they're walking through it to get to work or to get to school or to get to something, right? We know these things. We know the impact we have is so tiny that it's almost insignificant, but it's not insignificant, right? Telling our story in places like this podcast is important because it creates more awareness. And it maybe, I've heard it from folks before that your story inspired me to go out to do something outside, to get my fishing license or to look up whatever the Department of Environmental Conservation is in New York. Never heard of them before, right? Like it can help people to take that step. And in particular with the people listening to this podcast, it might cause them to think about a first responder or a veteran that they know and just ask them the question like, hey, do you want to go on a hike with me next week? Or when's the next time you can come visit? We're going to go fishing this spring. We'd love to bring you along. Like this, those are the type of opportunities that I think we need folks to really step into.
Yeah. And I was just going to actually ask that, like, how do we reach out more? The 1%, that is the smallest number you can get. And it's just crazy. So how do we reach out? I always say sharing is caring. But like you said, people listen to this podcast, reach out to local, your local people that that's a veteran first responder. But Aaron, is there any other way do you think that we could reach out and get more than that 1%? The 300 organizations, that's awesome. But 1%, that's just so low.
That's a really hard question. Like, how do
I'm
we
sorry.
have a bigger impact? I can tell you this. A couple of years ago, there was a piece of legislation at the federal level called the Accelerating Veterans Recovery Outdoors Act. And it's something that with my previous employer, I advocated for in a number of places around the country with a lot of other folks, and it got passed into law. And about the same time, the Trump administration signed an executive order creating free access to all national parks for veterans. And, but it wasn't permanent, but now it is. So now we have a permanent free pass. Anybody who even served a day no longer has to pay access to federal parks, right?
Wow.
The Accelerating Veterans Recovery Act turned into a study. There's currently a federal task force co-chaired by the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Interior, that's examining how to make it easier for veterans to spend time outdoors. But that's just the veteran community. None of that work has to do with first responders. Veterans are blessed in that they're very well organized and they have the Department of Veterans Affairs to lean on. There is no organization for first responders that advocates for all of them at the national level, and certainly not in this type of work. So there's very few of them. For us, we're trying to create that opportunity in the state of New York through the Outdoor RX Coalition to advocate for first responders to have things like easier access to park passes, or access to educational programs, access to knowledge through their different associations. But I do think that the solution to all of this lies at the very local level, and with folks that are able to access the education they need to teach themselves to do these things. Just knowing that 15 minutes a day outdoors has significant improvement in people's health. If you walk for 1 hour a day, you're increasing your health, not just your cardiovascular health or physical health, but also your mental health, your emotional health, these other aspects of your overall health and wellness. Getting that message out, I think, is what we have been working on for a number of years now and continue. So if anybody's interested in helping out, they can donate to our cause. They can be part of our organization. They can start something on their own. They can find something on their own. They can be part of the Appalachian Mountain Club, the Adirondacks Club. They can join the Catskill Search and Rescue Team. Like, there's all these different ways you can get involved in the community, right? And network yourself out there. But I don't think God, I wish there was just an easy thing that we could all do, but I think it's a mix.
Yeah, definitely sharing anything and everything on, social media has a big impact. It also has a negative impact and stuff like that, but definitely sharing it on social media and however you can, word of mouth, whatever, makes a big impact and could connect one person and that connect another person, word of mouth. It goes all over. So spread the word, let's just say. So Henry, you have anything to add about that?
No, I think Aaron said it better than I could.
He's so professional. He's very good professional speaker. This is
Good spokesman.
I was gonna say the spokesman of another summit. It should be that too.
And I can't catch a fish to save my life, which is why we
That's a
have
lie.
Henry.
It's a lie. It's a lie, Henry.
Yeah, I've seen this guy catching fish. I tied the flies for him, though.
So last fall, we did a 2-week thing up in the Mount Katahdin area. And I was like flying support. And I parked my RV on what was that river? What's the river, Henry, that goes by A-Ball? Why am I drawing a blank?
I don't remember.
At the Black River?
No. Pemagosset, I think. No, I hate to mispronounce it. So I apologize for anybody listening who knows the answer to this. You can email it to me through our website. So,
I think the Passamaquoddy.
it might be it.
Okay.
Anyways, it's a river that has Atlantic salmon that run up it. And unbeknownst to me, I would happen to be camping on this river upstream of rapids at a still section before some more rapids that fish will take a break at when they're coming up the river to spawn. And I was catching salmon. Like, I could not put a fly in the water without pulling a fish out. It was just unbelievable. But I was alone. So then the crew came back, our staff came back from what they were doing. And they sit up next to the campsite and they're watching me fish. And I'm like, get a camera and videotape this. I'm going to catch like 10 salmon in a row and just show it to Henry to make him jealous because he's not here. Right. So then I spend like 10 minutes fishing. I'm getting nothing. It's weird. Right. Not a single fish is coming in because I mentioned Henry's name. They stopped. And I thought, okay, it was bad luck because I mentioned Henry. Well, I was fishing with no fly on the end of the line. I didn't realize, right? That's how good of a fisherman I am, that I don't even know I'm not catching anything because the only thing going in the water is the tip of my leader. So yes, I catch fish out of luck, not out of skill.
That'll happen. There was pressure. You had pressure, so
Still catching a fish.
exactly, exactly. So, how can we find out about the organization and trips?
Easiest way is to go to www.anothersummit.org. It'll take you directly to the Another Summit page. You can do the same thing with Guardian Revival. What's really cool about us, and what I bet people will be surprised to hear, is that we hired a software developer on the hiking company staff. So Another Summit, an outdoor adventure company, has a full-time software developer who has made an app all for us, and he manages this app for us. When you become a member of Another Summit, you can download and use our app. We give you the code to activate it. And the phone app connects you directly to everything we're doing. You do not have to open up an email or look on a calendar. You just have to open up your app and see what's going on and sign up right there on your phone, which is a really cool way for our members to get involved. But step one is by visiting our website. It's a real simple process to join. Everybody's allowed to join. You don't have to be a first responder or a veteran. You don't even have to have a family member. You can always join Another Summit. We really encourage our community members to just sign up. We love to have these diverse groups of people going out on these outings together. And the folks who need the help benefit from those environments a lot that we create for those short periods of time. So, yeah, I encourage people to sign up, take a look at what's going on, and then select something. Just know that our multi-day trips are applications only. We prioritize veterans and first responders on those expeditions. So if you want to join and try to get on one of our multi-day trips and you're not a veteran or first responder, just be patient. It might take you a few tries before you get accepted.
Henry, you want to add anything to that?
He said it all once again.
Mm.
It's very smooth. I'm actually on those both I signed up on online and then I have the app. They're both awesome stuff. Has everything on there that you would need. It tells you difficulty ratings of what you guys are doing, your trips, and tells you all about the organization. And then it also connects you with Guardian Revival, which is another phenomenal piece of what we need to help our veterans and first responders here in the United States. And once again, I didn't know that anybody, mostly can hook up, but that's also another great thing to add. If you hook up with the organization, you're not a veteran or first responder, getting that exposure to, like-minded people that love the nature and outdoors could give you another benefit or another friend that has that experience and could take you and teach you more. Like you said, education is key. Just like somebody pointing out, like I said, a bird just like over there, just will spark your attention and get you going and then get you hooked on that and get you away from everything else. And like Henry has done, and Aaron, of what you have done, gone out in the outdoors and got connected to the outdoors. What I've done, got connected to the outdoors, and now we're all hooked. And we want to spread this love that we have of the outdoors to other people, and then get them connected, and then get them on their way. So amazing.
I will throw a pitch in if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
So on the app, you can see who the outdoor leaders are.
Oh,
If you see a trip that Henry is the outdoor leader on, I would drive hours to go on one of his trips. Talk about an educational experience. I have never not learned some really cool stuff from a couple of hours with Mr. De La Vega out in the woods. And
correct.
it's the same with his wife. So Henry or Lauren, if they're one of the leaders on the trip, I highly encourage folks to come down from the Catskills and join them.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll show you a good time.
Definitely. Hudson, the Valley, Catskills, anywhere. Henry is there, and he's going to teach you so much stuff. He did it on the Pemi Loop, especially when he firsthand went onto my blisters and helped me out with my freaking, I don't know how many blisters I had, 8 or 9. I'm pretty sure it was.
It was many.
It was many. Helped me out and get me at the end of that hike.
We
That
fixed
was
your right up though.
It was amazing. And the one thing I wanna say is, why doesn't Mark have a picture on there? That's disappointing. Got to get a picture
Because
of Mark.
he used to be a Green Beret.
Okay. All
That's
right.
a joke.
Oh, not. But you got to get a picture of him on there. It's his worst time. I got to see that.
I did get a nice picture of him, and I'll tell you what, if you look back there, if you check again at the end of this week, I'll promise you there'll be a picture of Mark.
He's a beast. I gotta admit, that guy is a beast, and you know, to have him be with him firsthand, he knows his shit. That's all I gotta say. And to hear about him on a search and rescue team, I would have like the most confidence that I would be rescued by Mark alone. Like,
Well, I don't want to embarrass him, but if you search his name and use the term Silver Star at the same time, you can read a really cool story about him.
I will definitely do that. I gotta read that because I messed with him so much on that hike, and it was so much fun. Awesome, guys. So thank you for joining me tonight. One last question: post hike brews and bites. After going out for a hike or a backpack or anything, what do you suggest you get to have or eat or drink around your local area?
Go ahead, Henry. You can steal it.
No, I came up with another one. We're arguing over who would get to pick the Mexican place, but I'll say in Beacon we have a great restaurant called Meyer's Old Dutch. So if you come up to hike in the Hudson Highlands, which if you haven't, you should. It's really a beautiful park. That's a good place to get like a classic smash burger. I'd say close to on par with Mama's Boys. Or Mama's Boy up there in Tannersville.
Nice. I'll connect that. Aaron, how about you, sir?
Juanita's. Super
Perfection.
awesome family, runs a great Mexican restaurant. And my go-to is always I've eaten a lot of burritos around this country and down south in South America, Central America. And Juanita's is number one on my list. Clear easily.
So you're a big Mexican fan. Were you both big Mexican fans?
Oh, I
love some Mexican food.
You want to know where the
excellent tamales.
You want to know where the best Mexican food that I had was ever? Up in Maine.
Yes.
Maine.
Yep. I've been I mean, I haven't done crazy. I've been all over the United States, Utah, down in Arizona. I used to live down in Arizona, California. I had one of the best burritos ever when we were going to Portland, Maine one time for a friend's wedding, and it was just like I was blown away. It was just amazing. So there's one in Maine and then one down in Arizona, of course. Arizona. This was like a really weird dive bar, but it had the greatest Mexican food. So I'll have to check out Juanita's now.
Juanita's is in
That's
Cold
funny.
Spring. It happens to be right near a trailhead up into the Hudson Highlands State Park.
How do you spell Juanita's, by the way?
Juanitas.
Ah, okay. That I was trying to find it, and I was just like, what the hell is that? Awesome. I will plug those into there. And anything you guys want to say before we end the show?
I think this is an awesome podcast. I'm glad that we're a sponsor.
Yes. I have to.
Thanks for having us on.
Anytime when Henry came forward to me about you guys sponsoring the show, I was just like, that's absolutely phenomenal. I'm definitely all for it. And I'm proud to have you guys as a sponsor, and I'm proud of what you guys do because it is definitely needed. And I want to spread the word of this organization as much as I can. And I think anybody and everybody should share this episode to help out our veterans and first responders. So please do. So thank you for joining me tonight, you guys. Really appreciate it. Once again, thank you to whoever is listening to the show still. 109 episodes in. Crazy. Thank you to the monthly supporters and the monthly sponsors. Thank you to Another Summit. Really appreciate you guys sponsoring the show and for doing what you guys do. And please keep it up. Let me know if I can do anything more to help as well. And thank you for everything. So have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Hey, thank you.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.